In just 37 seconds, one of Hollywood's most respected legends completely demolished a television host on live morning television, delivering a verbal beatdown so brutal that cameras kept rolling as security had to step in, and what started as a simple conversation about movies turned into an absolute meltdown that ended with the guests storming off the set while millions watched in shock. Before we get into this explosive story, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the moments that reveal who these celebrities really are behind the cameras. Hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss what we have coming next. The tension in the Good Morning America studio last night was thick enough to cut with a knife. Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and director who's been in the game for over 6 decades, sat across from Michael Strahan in what everyone thought would be a straightforward conversation about his latest film project. The 94-year-old icon looked composed, wearing his signature casual style, a simple button-down shirt and jacket, his weathered face carrying that same intensity that made him famous in westerns and crime dramas. Strahan started off friendly enough, smiling that big television smile, welcoming Eastwood to the show. "Clint, it's an honor to have you here. You're a living legend, man. Everybody knows your work." Eastwood nodded slightly, his expression neutral. "Thanks for having me. So let's talk about your new movie," Strahan continued, leaning forward in his chair. "You're still directing at 94 years old. That's incredible. What keeps you going?" "I just love the work," Eastwood replied simply. "Always have. When you find something you're passionate about, age doesn't really matter much." Strahan grinned. "That's beautiful, man. That's really beautiful. But I gotta ask, because people are curious, you know. You've been in this industry forever. You've seen it change so much. How do you feel about the way Hollywood is today compared to when you started?" Eastwood shifted slightly in his seat. "It's different. Everything changes. Some good, some bad." Right, Strahan said, nodding enthusiastically. "But specifically, what do you think about the way movies are made now? All the superhero stuff, all the CGI, all the special effects. Is that real filmmaking to you?" There was a pause. Eastwood's eyes narrowed just a fraction. "I think filmmaking is about telling stories. However you tell them, if it's done well, it's valid." "But come on," Strahan pressed, his smile still plastered on his face. "You got to admit, it's not the same as the classics you made. Can you really compare a Marvel movie to something like Unforgiven or Gran Torino?" "I didn't come here to put down other people's work," Eastwood said, his voice even but with an edge creeping in. "Every generation has their own style." Strahan laughed, but it sounded forced. No, I'm not asking you to put anything down. I'm just saying you're from a different era. A better era, maybe? When actors actually had to act. You know what I mean?" Eastwood didn't respond immediately. He just stared at Strahan with those piercing eyes that had intimidated countless actors and crew members over the years. The studio audience, which had been murmuring quietly, fell completely silent. "I think actors today work just as hard as we did," Eastwood finally said. "Different challenges, same dedication." Sure, Strahan said, waving his hand dismissively. "But let's get real for a second. I read somewhere that you said something about how Hollywood's gotten too soft, too politically correct. Is that true?" Eastwood's jaw tightened. "I've said a lot of things over the years. Context matters. But you did say it, right?" Strahan pushed. "I mean, you're known for speaking your mind. That's what people love about you. You don't play games." "I speak my mind when it's appropriate," Eastwood said slowly. "And when I'm not being baited." Strahan's smile faltered for just a second, but he recovered quickly. "Baited? Man, I'm just having a conversation with you. This is what we do on morning television. We talk." "You're not talking," Eastwood said flatly. "You're trying to get me to say something controversial so you can have your viral moment." The atmosphere in the studio shifted immediately. Crew members exchanged glances. The camera operators kept filming, but you could sense everyone becoming more alert, more focused. Strahan laughed again, but this time it was defensive. "Wow, okay. That's not what I'm doing at all, Clint. I'm just trying to have an honest discussion about your career and your views." "My views on what?" Eastwood asked. You haven't asked me anything about my actual film. You haven't asked me about the story we're telling, the actors I'm working with, the craft of directing. You just want me to complain about modern Hollywood so you can clip it up for social media. That's not fair, Strahan said, his smile completely gone now. I invited you here to promote your movie. I'm giving you a platform. A platform? Eastwood repeated, his voice rising slightly. You're giving me a platform? I've been making films since before you were born. I don't need you to give me anything. Strahan sat back in his chair, his face hardening. All right, you know what? Maybe we should take a different approach here. Let's talk about some of the things you've said in the past, because you have said some controversial things. Such as? Eastwood challenged. Well, for one, you talked to an empty chair at that political convention, Strahan said. A lot of people thought that was pretty weird, man. Pretty disrespectful, actually. Eastwood's expression didn't change, but his voice dropped lower. That was years ago, and it was political satire. If people didn't understand it, that's their problem. Political satire, Strahan repeated, shaking his head. See, that's the thing about you older guys. You think you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, and then just call it satire or free speech or whatever. I can say whatever I want, Eastwood said firmly. That's actually how free speech works. But there are consequences, Strahan shot back. You can't just go around offending people and then act like you're some victim when they call you out. Eastwood leaned forward now, his eyes locked on Strahan. Who did I offend? Be specific. Strahan hesitated for just a moment. You've made comments about race, about politics, about social issues that a lot of people found problematic. Problematic? Eastwood said, almost laughing. That's a word people use when they can't articulate what's actually wrong with something. What specifically did I say that was problematic? You know what you said, Strahan replied, his voice getting louder. Don't play dumb with me. I'm not playing anything, Eastwood said coldly. You're the one who invited me here and is now accusing me of things without backing it up. If you have something to say it clearly. The tension was unbearable now. Someone in the audience coughed, and it echoed through the studio like a gunshot. Strahan pointed at Eastwood. You've said that people are too sensitive these days, that we need to toughen up. That's easy for you to say when you're a rich white guy who's never had to deal with real discrimination. Eastwood stood up. Not quickly, not dramatically, but deliberately. He looked down at Strahan with an expression that was equal parts disappointment and anger. You don't know a damn thing about my life, Eastwood said quietly. But his voice carried through every microphone in the studio. You don't know what I've dealt with, what I've experienced, what I've overcome. And you sure as hell don't have the right to sit there and lecture me about sensitivity when you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to bait me into a fight for your ratings. I'm not trying to bait you, Strahan insisted, standing up as well. I'm asking you legitimate questions that people want answers to. No, you're attacking me, Eastwood said. There's a difference between journalism and ambush, and you clearly don't know which one you're doing. Strahan's face flushed. Attacking you? Man, please. You can't handle a few tough questions? The great Clint Eastwood can't handle someone challenging him? I can handle anything you throw at me, Eastwood said. What I won't handle is disrespect. You invited me here under false pretenses. You said this was about my film. Instead, you're trying to make me into some villain for your audience. Nobody's making you into a villain, Strahan argued. You're doing that yourself by refusing to take accountability for the things you've said. Accountability for what? Eastwood demanded, his voice rising now. You keep talking in circles. You keep making vague accusations. If you have something to say to me, be a man and say it directly. Strahan stepped closer. Fine. I think you're out of touch. I think you represent an old way of thinking that doesn't work anymore. I think you hide behind your legacy and your tough guy image because you can't handle the fact that the world has moved on without you. The studio went completely silent. Even the crew seemed frozen. Eastwood stared at Strahan for a long moment. Then, slowly, a thin smile crossed his face. But it wasn't friendly. It was the kind of smile that made people nervous. You think I'm out of touch? Eastwood said softly. You're a former football player who reads off a teleprompter for a living. You're a millionaire celebrity who sits in a comfortable chair and judges other people while contributing nothing of substance to the world. And you have the audacity to tell me I'm out of touch? Strahan's mouth opened, but no words came out. I've made over 40 films as a director, Eastwood continued, his voice steady and cutting. I've won Academy Awards. I've told stories that have moved millions of people. I've employed thousands of people over my career. I've created art that will outlive both of us. What have you done besides smile pretty and cash checks? How dare you? Strahan managed to say, his voice shaking with anger. How dare you come on my show and disrespect me like that? Your show? Eastwood said. This isn't your show. You're just the guy they put in the chair. You're replaceable. They had someone before you, and they'll have someone after you. You're not important. You're not special. You're just another television personality who thinks their opinions matter because they have a microphone. Strahan looked like he'd been slapped. Get the hell off my set. Gladly, Eastwood said. He started to turn away, then stopped and looked back at Strahan. You know what your problem is? You're so desperate to be relevant, to be edgy, to be respected, that you'll tear down people who've actually earned respect. You wanted a viral moment? Congratulations. You got one. But it's not going to be the one you wanted. Security! Strahan yelled. Get him out of here! I'm walking out on my own, Eastwood said calmly. He unclipped his microphone and dropped it on his chair. I don't need your security. I don't need your platform. And I sure as hell don't need your approval. Strahan was red-faced now, practically shaking. You're finished. You hear me? You're done. Eastwood stopped at the edge of the set and looked back one more time. I've been done about 100 times in my career. According to people like you, I'm still here. Where will you be in 5 years? Get out! Strahan screamed. I'm going, Eastwood said. But I want everyone watching to know something. This right here. This is what passes for journalism now. This is what morning television has become. Not information, not entertainment. Just manufactured outrage, designed to get clicks and views. And people like him, he pointed at Strahan. They're not interested in truth. They're interested in drama. You arrogant son of a... Strahan started, but Eastwood cut him off. I'm arrogant? Eastwood said, his voice sharp. You brought me here, you attacked me, you insulted my career, my character, my entire life, and I'm the arrogant one? Look in a mirror, Michael. You might not like what you see. A producer rushed onto the set, trying to calm things down. Gentlemen, please, let's just take a breath here. There's nothing to breathe about, Eastwood said. I'm leaving. This interview is over. Strahan pointed at him again. You walked onto this set thinking you're untouchable, that you can say whatever you want and nobody will challenge you. Well, I challenged you, and you couldn't handle it. You didn't challenge me, Eastwood said with a cold laugh. You ambushed me. There's a difference. A challenge is honest. A challenge is fair. What you did was cowardly. You hid behind your desk and your smile, and your accusations without any substance behind them. I have plenty of substance, Strahan shot back. I have receipts. I have quotes. I have evidence of all the controversial crap you've said over the years. Then show them, Eastwood challenged. Right now, show the audience these receipts, these quotes, this evidence. I'll wait. Strahan looked around, clearly flustered. I don't need to prove anything to you. Exactly, Eastwood said. Because you don't have anything. You just have talking points someone fed you. You don't even know what you're mad about. You're just mad because that's what you think makes good television. The producer tried again. Mr. Eastwood, please, if we could just... No, Eastwood said firmly. I'm not doing this. I don't play these games. I've been in this industry for 7 decades, and I've never let anyone disrespect me like this. I'm not starting now. Strahan laughed bitterly. Disrespect you? Everything I've said has been the truth. You just can't handle hearing it. The truth? Eastwood said. You wouldn't know the truth if it sat across from you in that chair, which, ironically, it just did. Oh, please, Strahan said dismissively. You're a relic. A has been trying to stay relevant by picking fights. Eastwood shook his head slowly. I didn't pick this fight. You did. I came here to talk about my film, to share my work with your audience, to be a professional. You're the one who turned it into a circus. Because I asked you real questions, Strahan yelled. Because I didn't just kiss your ass and let you ramble on about the good old days. You didn't ask me questions, Eastwood countered. You made accusations. You implied I was racist, out of touch, irrelevant. That's not questioning. That's attacking. Strahan spread his arms wide. If the shoe fits, the audience gasped. Even some of the crew members looked shocked at how openly hostile Strahan had become. Eastwood stared at him for a long moment. You're going to regret this, he said quietly. Is that a threat? Strahan asked. It's a prediction, Eastwood replied. When this airs, when people see how you conducted yourself, how you treated a guest on your show, they're going to see who you really are. Not the charming guy with the big smile. The bitter, insecure bully who has to tear down legends to feel important. Get the hell out of here, Strahan said through gritted teeth. I'm going, Eastwood said. He turned to the audience. I apologize that you had to see this. I came here in good faith. I'm sorry it turned out this way. Several audience members started clapping. Then more joined in. Within seconds, half the audience was applauding Eastwood. Strahan looked furious. Stop clapping! This isn't a show. But the applause only grew louder. Eastwood gave a small nod to the audience, then walked toward the exit. As he reached the edge of the stage, Strahan called out one more time. You're nothing. You hear me? Nothing. Eastwood paused, his hand on the curtain. Without turning around, he spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. If I'm nothing, why are you so angry? Then he walked off the set. Strahan stood there, chest heaving, face red, looking like he wanted to throw something. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of his meltdown. Turn the cameras off, he shouted at the crew. I said turn them off, but it was too late. The damage was done. The confrontation had been captured in its entirety. Millions of viewers had just watched Michael Strahan lose complete control on live television, attacking one of Hollywood's most respected figures and getting absolutely destroyed in return. The producer rushed over to Strahan, trying to calm him down, but he shoved past her and stormed off the set in the opposite direction, leaving his co-hosts and the audience in stunned silence. In the hallway backstage, Eastwood walked calmly toward the exit. A young production assistant approached him nervously. Mr. Eastwood, I'm so sorry about what happened. That wasn't supposed to go like that. Eastwood looked at her kindly. It's not your fault, kid. Sometimes people show you who they really are. You just have to pay attention. He continued walking, pushing through the door and out into the early morning air. Behind him, chaos erupted in the studio as producers scrambled to figure out what to do, how to salvage the situation, how to explain what had just happened. But Eastwood didn't look back. He'd said what he needed to say. He'd stood his ground. And he'd walked away with his dignity intact, which was more than could be said for the man he'd left behind. The door closed behind him with a soft click, ending one of the most explosive confrontations in morning television history.